Hello. I must talk to the most awesome trademark lawyer in the entire world, the one person that I can trust to explain things to me in English so that I can actually understand how to protect my business. Can that happen?
Is this Molly Mahoney?
It can!
Hi!
Are you there? You're there, the Joey Vitale. That is the answer to my prayers. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. If you do not know Joey C. Vitale, you are so in luck today because he is so good when it comes to all things human, all things internet, all things trademarks. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. Give us a replay below. Let us know that you're here. Joey, how are you?
Oh my gosh, Molly, I am so
Oh my
excited
gosh,
to be
what happened?
here.
I just lost your sound again. I don't know what happened. Did I turn it down?
Did we lose it?
Fuck.
Can you guys hear me?
Which is even better. It was here and then it disappeared.
It seems like you can hear me,
Okay,
but you
I'll go ahead and
can't?
come back to me because I can't hear you at all. I
Okay,
don't know what happened.
okay.
Hello? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little backstory on Joey. We have known each other for years and years and years, and we're going to try it again. Let's see.
Any better? Any worse? No. Can you hear
I
me?
don't know. Can you guys hear him on the video? This is the best way to increase engagement is to have sound issues. Oh, I think I heard it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Get back. We were just talking about the fact that Joey is now able to run his business on the road, which is so awesome. But sometimes when you're on the road, little sound things may happen. I don't know. It's called the internet. So for those of you that have never met Joey before, type the word new in the chat. If you've never met me before, type the word new in the chat and we'll just be new on all sides. It's so great to meet you. Joey, why don't you give us just a little rundown of why we should trust you? Because obviously I trust you basically with my life and business, but let everybody else know why they should trust you too.
Well, before I do that, I just want to say, if you do know Molly and you love Molly, type love in below, because really my origin story is years ago, I found and kind of stalked Molly Mahoney and went to her website. She had this great blog that I followed around what to do with Facebook Live to get more traction. And I followed her advice. The video went crazy. I mean, the attention that it got was absolutely nuts.
On his video, actually.
On my video.
This was such a big deal for me too, because it was a stranger who came to my website, followed the step-by-step guide that we gave on the website. And I mean, you had like, I don't know, 7 bajillion comments on your video. It was like
I was so not used to having that much engagement, and like I felt like a YouTube celebrity who was just getting all these crazy comments in the chat. I didn't know what to do with myself. I totally lost track of my slides. Must have stuttered for like 10 minutes straight. I got my act together, finished the video, went to Molly's website to thank her, saw that she had a phone number on her website. She no longer has the phone number on her website, folks, because of me. But I called her and I left this like 10-minute voicemail being like, you don't know who I am. I just wanted to say thank you and give you a little debrief about what just happened.
It was the best voicemail ever. And I don't think I have it saved anywhere because I lived in a different house at that point. Like so much has changed. We have come a long way, friend. It was such an awesome example of like showing up, putting things into action, and then being brave enough to reach out and call me also because the message was so awesome. And from there, I mean, so many amazing things happened. So Joey is now our trademark lawyer, which I'm so grateful for. And we have so many stories about that we can share. Joey is also a GLAM alum. So he went through our entire GLAM program and all of Show Up with Video, which used to be Camera Confidence. Part of the reason that the name of that changed is because of Joey, which I can explain that to you later as well. And just so many different things. So, I mean, as a trademark lawyer, I think you really are the only person any of us in this online business space should trust because you do understand both the law side of things and then you also understand all of the kooky ins and outs of this whole business thing. So can you take a little bit of a detour before we jump into all the legal stuff, which I know everyone is super excited because law is so exciting, obviously.
Fascinating, right? Everyone's favorite topic. Screw social media, screw live video. We all want to talk about legal stuff.
I know you do make it so exciting though. Can you share with us a little bit about your business journey, because it's been so awesome to see the things that you have put in place since we first started working together, and we just love supporting you in glam. It was so awesome, and I'm so proud of you and all that you've put into action.
Well, I
Like,
love my time in glams so much. I started my business honestly because I realized that I wanted not to be a practicing lawyer at the law firm that I was at anymore. I was getting courage to go out on my own. I connected with a business coach before I made a big move from St. Louis to Chicago. And I said, look, I'd love to be a business attorney to help other entrepreneurs. I don't really know any business owners, but I really like this idea. I love this idea of being more proactive with my law degree instead of reactive and in the courtroom. And my business coach said, have you ever worked with Etsy store owners before? And I was like, no. And she said, would you be interested in doing that? And I said, sure, but why? And my business coach at the time said that she had recently started working with more makers, more creatives, and there were a dozen or so Facebook groups that she was plugged into that must have had thousands of Facebook group members in those groups. And there wasn't really one attorney in those groups that people were tagging and pointing to whenever people had legal questions. And there were lots of legal questions that were coming up. So my first year as a lawyer, I was really just a lawyer for grandmas on Etsy. And I say that with all the love in the world. I absolutely loved it. And I learned so much
which I
about,
completely forgot about that part of your journey,
yes,
actually. So it's such a great little side lesson for all of us, that just like pick a niche and you can
yes.
always change things from there. But really, it helped you to build this kind of super fan group of people who were so grateful for you. And I love the shift that came, because it's kind of similar to some things we've talked about before. So continue on.
Yeah. So about a year after I launched my firm and had this really fun niche, um, a few things started to happen all at once. Um, First, I started getting a really clear understanding after about a year of not just what business owners wanted, but what they needed, even though they didn't know to ask for it. And I started to see this common thread where if I put up like a drive-through menu of legal options that you can say, oh yeah, I'd like help with that. Most people don't ask for trademark help, but it kept coming up as something that people would reach out to me months or years later with some version of a story of, I just got a cease and desist letter. What does this mean? How can you help me? I know that Molly can relate to those types of stories as well.
Which is another thing for all of us to look at, is like pick a niche and then notice what types of questions are you getting. So he didn't know that he was going to be a trademark lawyer right away. He listened to human beings, he spoke to human beings. Imagine that. And then what happened?
So all of that was happening, and then one more thing happened that we just need to address because it's so much of my story. Is I had a very serious series of panic attacks that all happened in about 2 weeks. I was in the hospital. Um, Very scary time for me and my family. I'm okay now. They realized uh, after a couple of weeks that the panic attack medication they were giving me was actually worsening the panic
Mm,
attacks. So once they figured out the right medication, things got better quickly. But during that scary time, there was this sense of uh, it was going to take a while for my brain to recover from that traumatic experience.
mm.
And there was this real kind of doctor's order sense of, I have to do everything I can do to create a stress-free law firm for
Yeah.
myself. And so when we put all of that together, it was this idea of, trademarks are a clear need. There's a clear opportunity to better serve business owners in that space. And if I could figure out a way to develop a systems and processes and team around really delivering that service well, then I could design myself out of that type of a firm more and more for the sake of my health. And I've learned through Molly and through others that those steps that you take as a business owner that are good for your mental health will always also be good for the business. the same
And for
steps
your
that I'm
clients
taking.
too, which I think is
Yes.
the thing.
Yes.
People worry that they have to do all these things, like cross these boundaries, but no, if you put these boundaries in place, your clients will appreciate the fact that they need boundaries in their lives also.
Yes.
So it's this awesome trickle effect. It's just it can be, I think, for some people scary to make that decision to put your health and your
Mm.
life as a priority, which is so sad, really. And um, you had some great like phrases and swag and stuff like that around it too, right? Like what was I'm like not remembering right now, but what was
Yeah,
the
the main one, it was actually I love myself more than I love my business.
yes, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. So and I think sometimes I saw a post the other day where someone was saying, maybe it was one of our clients even, I don't know. Somebody posted something that was like, "What are you addicted to that you're proud of?" And I was like, "Oh, I like that post." Was it one of you that are here right now? It was somebody that I know really well. I can't remember who it was. But the person, whoever, whatever it was, I saw several people saying underneath their work. And I was like, I don't think we should be. I mean, I do sometimes say like I'm a workaholic, but I definitely really lean into the fact that I'm like a pretend cruiseaholic. And I decided
Yes.
last week that I worked full time while being on spring break. But guess what that meant? I still took like 2 full days off. But nothing, no balls were dropped. Like I said to my husband that weekend, I was like, we should be able to schedule every week as if it's spring break with the balance, not like a 4-hour work week, because I do like to work, but it doesn't mean that
Sure.
I am addicted to it. It means that I'm making the choice to set boundaries and I'm making the choice to set aside time to do what I love, making a bigger impact. And I think you've done so well with that.
Well, and I also want to circle back to that 4-hour work week thing, just because the reality is these days, Molly, like if you think about what Molly is doing, 10 years ago, you would need multiple businesses to make the impact that Molly is making, right? Because she's got different programs, different courses, and there's so much impact happening. And I think that part of combining these layers of, you know,
Mm.
being a strong business owner, taking care of yourself, mindset is how can I how can I take a way that I want to help people and make it so that I have to put in as few hours into that as possible so that on top of that I can start adding new layers of helping people
Oh, that's
because
totally what it actually is. Like, it's not
because
about laying around and doing
100%.
nothing. It's like how, writing a children's book, and there's all these other things that all of us want to be I mean, not all of us, but at least some of us want to be able to do, and streamlining and getting the systems in place. And you have like a VA company now or something also?
Well, yes. So what I'm telling people, and this is a real goal that I've been working towards, is I'm striving to run indie law in 1 hour a week, so that the rest of the week I'm building up these new ways of, we're doing this entire presentation because I firmly believe that legal is important. It helps people,
Mm.
and I'm very excited about how are ways that I can show up and add value to people's lives in even bigger ways than just brand protection.
Yeah. Ah, it's so good. It's so good. So we already have loads of comments coming in. We have somebody asked, I didn't see who it was, but Pamela, was it you? Somebody asked, is Joey going to ask questions today? Or sorry, not ask, answer questions
Mm,
today, which I think that would be awesome if we save some time for Q&A at the
absolutely.
end, which means we
Absolutely.
probably need to jump into your actual presentation
Let's do
soon.
that.
We could just talk all day.
I
So
know.
we're going to jump into a full presentation where he's going to give us the golden nuggets about protecting your business. And I think maybe different than some people, Joey will also be honest, like, you don't need to trademark that. Sometimes there have been times when I've reached out, like, "Ooh, I have this idea. I want to trademark this thing." And he's like, "No."
Yeah.
Right? Or there are times where he's like, you probably should change the name of that thing that you do have trademarked, because we found so many people who were using Camera Confidence, which was the name of our program, and having it be our flagship program. He was like, I don't know if you're going to like this information that I'm about to share with you, but I think it may be a good idea to come up with something that's not quite as common as a term. Now, I still own Camera Confidence as a trademark and I'm still going to use it, but I'm not going to have it as my main flagship program
Yeah.
because it was providing some confusion in the marketplace. That is advice that I got from Joey also. So we're going to dive into this presentation, and can we do a nugget giveaway, Joey?
Yes.
That sound exciting?
Absolutely.
So I have a new line of shirts, which we're going to be launching when my camera focuses. This
Ah,
whole line of shirts with like the phrases that we say. We've got like bananas, we've got so good, we've got speak your kind, different things like that. So I'm going to give away a shirt today, and this is how you can do it. As Joey's going through this presentation, when you hear something, we already have like quotes here in the chat, all this kind of
awesome.
stuff. It's amazing. I love myself more than my business. We got the nuggets coming in. Cassandra's my piano teacher because I take weekly piano lessons
Mm.
just to stress myself out because it's hard, but it's good. Just kidding. She makes it so fun and awesome. We've got all of these things. God answered Marcy's banana phone regarding trademarks and mental health. I'm so glad. So we've got all of these things coming in. And if you continue to share nuggets throughout this presentation, I'll come back at the end and pick one of the nugget winners. I can see them whether you're watching on Joey's page or on mine or YouTube or whatever. I can see you all over the place here. So I'll grab one of those nugget winners to win a shirt. So keep those nuggets coming. And if you would like the chance to be able to book a call with Joey, can you tell us about the call that you have available for us?
Yeah, and we'll talk more about it at the end too.
Okay, but I just give a little nugget in case some people,
Yeah, if you are ready to move forward, I know that I'm curious. Is one of the shirts that you're making the stay in action?
You know what? We have a lot. Do we have stay in action? I think we might have stay in action. We have decide. We have
Okay.
elevate your awesome. A lot.
Just because
So many
if you're,
problems,
whether now
possibilities.
or after this training, in that stay in action space, and I know that that is really
And I have a hat that says stay in action.
that
Totally.
is such a Mollyism, then these calls are great for you because they help you make sure that you're making a decision either to work with a lawyer in general on this stuff, maybe indie law is a good fit for you, or at the end of the call, we can just give you that clarity that maybe you don't need anything and you can confidently work on your business, do other things for a few months and then or a year or whatever, and then circle back to us and say, okay, now is there anything in my brand that should be audited in terms of trademark protections?
Awesome. So the way that you can get access to this call, if you want to ask some more questions that we don't have time to cover today, just if you're watching on my Facebook business page, type the word remind me, all one word, remind me. It will get you access to a reminder, to the show notes, to all that. And I included the link for Joey's call there. So you'll be able to get that link right
Awesome.
away. You'll also be able to get the show notes when those are ready because we're putting show notes together. And if you're not watching on my Facebook page, if you're watching on my YouTube channel or you're watching on Joey's page or whatever, because we're like all over the internet, I am going to give you a link. I'm going to put it in the chat, and I'm also going to put it up on the screen. I'm clicking the wrong things. The comments are going so fast, I can't grab them. Okay, you can just go to molly.live/remind me. The link will be right there. It'll be a message. You'll get a message from our Facebook business page. This is part of the thing that Joey read in that blog post years ago, all the magic. And you can get it right there. And then we'll also have it linked in the show notes. So you'll be able to get the show notes, all that goodness. It will be amazing. Okay, Joey, are you ready to jump into this presentation?
Let's do this.
I'm so excited. Okay, and I'm going to try and keep quiet. I also just
Oh,
need to
is
mention,
this
before I keep quiet, if you just screen share, I'll be able to pull it up. I need to
okay?
mention before I keep quiet that there is this dove that is flying like all day. It's like literally just floating about outside my window. So if you see me like do this, it's because there's a dove flying in my face. It's so crazy. Is it working?
It looks like I need to restart
Like, okay,
Chrome.
just,
Can I
oh,
just do
shoot.
that real quick?
Yes, do that. And this is what happened to me a couple weeks ago. Some of you were on a masterclass that we did. Go ahead and hop out. I'll keep
Okay,
us going.
okay, okay.
So, and I'll tell a couple of trademark stories while you're
Great.
hopping out because those are good. So, this happened to me during a masterclass a couple weeks ago where I didn't realize there had been a Chrome update and I had to restart. Y'all, some of you saw that. It was kind of crazy. So, here's the two biggest things that happened to us trademark wise. The first thing is years ago, before I ever had any idea that any of this stuff existed, I was a vocal coach. So I was a singing coach. And I wrote in a random blog post, oh, I'm looking to create this program called Belt Your Face Off. And I bought beltyourfaceoff.com. If you don't know, I love to give a good high belt. And I was so excited about this because one of the things that I did really well was I had these YouTube videos that taught people how to sing. And this Belt Your Face Off thing was like going to be my really awesome ticket to success as a vocal coach. And I had a baby Charleston, my second kiddo. So I waited to do it, but I had written in this random blog post. Well, this gal named Felicia Ritchie, she's one of the Elphabas, one of the original Elphabas. Obviously, she's not Idina Menzel, but she played Elphaba on Broadway, and she was launching a course called Belt Your Face Off. And apparently, she had better business sense than I did. So she went and trademarked Belt Your Face Off. Now, what I learned in this moment, and Joey can kind of clear this up for us if necessary, I thought because I already had the domain name and I had already put it out there on the internet that I was going to launch this course, I thought, well, I said it first. So isn't there some sort of something around that? No, because I had not actually sold anything through that term. And Joey can clean this up for us. I know the Bible, Alicia. So what ended up happening is I ended up talking to a trademark lawyer. This was not Joey at the time, but I ended up talking to a trademark lawyer and it was like, nope, she's right. So Joey was just telling the story about my first trademark incident, which was I thought I owned the right to it because I had published the information somewhere, but I had not actually made a sale or a transaction on my trademarked term. So I did not get to keep Belt Your Face Off. And the ironic thing is, I am no longer teaching voice lessons. And guess what? I looked her up this week because I wanted to see what she was doing. She's not teaching voice lessons anymore either. And you can now get her entire course for free in a Google Drive. She put the whole thing out there for free.
Oh, so cool.
It's funny how this stuff changes. It's just crazy.
Well, one of the...
Oh my gosh.
I think one of the reasons why, and you can hear me, right, Molly?
I can't hear you again, which I don't know what happened.
Okay,
there.
let
it
me...
looks
let
like
me
your sound is coming through. I don't know.
Let me make sure on my end that it is.
I've not had it happen. You want to maybe hop back out again and come back in? I don't know.
Is this any better?
Oh, yes, 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 it is. Yes. Okay.
So I really appreciate whenever Molly can get real about these stories, because the truth is that when it comes to trademarks, this is the one area of the law that I think general people hear about the most. There's trademark stuff in the news. When we say, oh, that's trademarked or that's not trademarked yet, there's this kind of working knowledge of what that means, even though we don't really know what it means. And it's particularly dangerous for business owners because the parts of it that we think we know, but we're actually wrong, are the parts that can really come back to bite us.
And there's so many pieces of misinformation out there,
Yes.
right? Like there's so much misinformation out there. And now I've been even more often on the other side of it, where I've had to send the message or the email or whatever to people because they're blasting Camera Confidence all over the place. And I have had Camera Confidence trademarked since 2016. And part of that is that it's your duty to protect your trademark. So if you don't say something to somebody else, then maybe I'm not correct on this, but are you at risk of losing your trademark if you don't protect it?
Yeah. The more that you see, the more that people use your trademark or others like it, and you don't force them to stop, the more that weakens your own right.
And I've had to be, with Joey's help, had to be kind of hardcore about it in a very loving way. And some people have responded so amazingly, like even StreamYard at one point was using it. And I was like, yo. And they changed it right away.
Yeah.
But I've had other people try to fight me on it and say like, oh, well, I live in the UK. I'm like, yeah, but your Facebook ads are running in the US.
Right.
No. So I've had to say that I was going to, one person, I had to tell her I was going to report her to Facebook as trademark infringement reporting to Facebook. And finally she changed it. But
this stuff has layers, my friends.
But I've been so grateful to have Joey as someone there that I can be like, help me. So with that in mind, are you all ready for his full presentation? Because I see it here. He also has my most favorite branding ever. So.
All right, everyone. So here it is. We're going to be talking about how to protect your brand and get legally legit, AKA 3 big trademark mistakes to avoid so you don't lose your brand overnight. Before we dive in, my promise to all of you is that this will be the best legal training that you've ever sat in on. I know that's not a very high bar, but if you don't think that's the case, we'll give you your money back, right?
And I'm so sure of that. Sprinkle this amongst your community because your friends are going to love you for sharing this with them.
Yeah, share this out. Share this out. So you're in the right place if you've got a growing business and vision, but trademarks are confusing. and you're committed to protecting your brand against big risks, you want one less thing to keep you up at. And here's what you're going to learn from us today. I'm going to deliver as much valuable education as I can in the next 30 to 45 minutes. You're going to get actionable and practical tips, not just theory. I like to tell my clients, all of you, that I went to law school so that you don't have to. So I'm not going to be like throwing the equivalent of a thick case law textbook at your face. We're going to make this easy. We're going to make this very easy for you to understand and take action moving forward. My law firm has filed well over 500 trademark applications at this point. So we really do know this stuff. Please be open to learning something new. And if you are tuning into any other tabs or whatever, feel free to get rid of all of that stuff. Focus on this, because the more that you pay attention to this, the more that you'll remember. By the way, Kim is asking about this being blurry. If this is coming through not clear for all of you, let me know. I can go ahead and just shift, but I do think it is important for this type of a training to do these slides.
Yeah, it looks clear to me. And so
okay.
It could be like the download side. I'll go look at it on my phone too, just to make sure, but it looks clear to me.
Okay. I'm seeing the reason why I want to show these slides for you guys, and the reason why there might be a bit of a text heaviness to these slides. Molly, I think you and I both know that it's almost this idea that the fewer words on slides, the better. But when it comes to legal stuff, there's so much that we are learning for the first time, and this new language that we really want to get right. And so I'm putting text on the screen here just to reinforce what I'm saying, so that it can be digested, kind of stay in your brain for a longer period of time.
And I think sometimes this stuff gets a little emotional too, because it feels scary to us, which is one of the things I've been so grateful for you around, is the fact that you make it easy to understand. And so for all of us, we've also been working on like accessibility around here as well. So I think it helps with that too.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to be talking a lot about trademarks. Before we do that, I want to make sure that all of you know that I do have some deeper resources for all of you. We don't have nearly enough time today to go through everything that there is to know about trademarks, but I do have 2 really high value bonuses for anybody who wants them. I'm probably going to be referencing them throughout, just so you'll know kind of where you can start using them. And I'll share a link at the end so that you can access them as well. A quick poll, we can do this in the chat. How would you rate your knowledge of trademarks? Give me a 1 if you feel like you don't know that much at all. Give me a 2 if you feel like kind of maybe so-and-so, like I know a little bit. And give me a 3 if you feel like you're already like a trademark ninja rock star. It's always helpful for me to assess just kind of where people are at right now. Okay, I'm getting people kind of across the board. Great. A lot of 1s, some 2s. So welcome, by the way, my law firm's name is Indie Law. What we do is we help brands get legally legit. And we're not really your average law firm. Me and my entire team are a group of people who don't really like to argue. For the most, even the lawyers on my team have joined Indie Law because none of us are really that comfortable being in a courtroom. We would much rather be outside of the courtroom, helping people stay out of the courtroom. We all love entrepreneurs, working with people like you, and we're really a unique law firm in that trademarks are all that we do. One of our slogans is that trademarks are our jam. A quick story that I think Molly and her followers will appreciate. Last year, we decided to get really serious about this slogan of trademarks being our jam. So we gave all of our biggest referral partners homemade jam that my team made at a team retreat. And we mailed them out to all 30 or 50, I forget, of our top referral partners. It's a recipe that goes way back. We found out that the grandma's jam recipe from one of my teammates, I think it was Jamie at the top here, the recipe that she thought was a family recipe was actually just on the box the whole time. But it was good jam. So if anybody wants the recipe, let me know. So most business owners are making 3 big mistakes that put their brand in danger. And that's really why we're all here today. The first mistake is this idea that I don't need a trademark because I already have a fill in the blank. Maybe that's an LLC that you got, or a corporation if you're fancy, or something like a PC if you're a law firm. Maybe you went to GoDaddy or somewhere else and you got that website domain, or you grabbed the social media handles. A lot of people think, oh, I did that, so I don't really need a trademark, right? That is a big mistake that you're making, and we're going to dive into why that's the case. First, we have to get clear on what exactly is a trademark. Now, I saw a lot of people say that you're somewhat familiar. Maybe you would give yourself between a 2, right in the middle there, maybe a 1. But to start things off, when we say, what can you even trademark? Here's a nice list that we can start to work with. A business name, a logo, a slogan, a course, a podcast, maybe a product line, or even a signature method. So it's great to start out, okay, these are things that you can trademark in your business. But what is a trademark? Well, I've learned that there is an actual legal definition. It's really not that helpful, so I'm not even going to give it to you guys. But we know when we see it, right? Like if I told you all that Nike and McDonald's and Target, that they had trademarks, you'd probably be thinking to yourself, oh yeah, that makes sense that those brands would all be trademarked. So I want to ask you this. Let me know in the chat, who do you think owns Hakuna Matata as a trademark? This isn't a trick question. If you think you know the answer, you probably do.
I also love all of Joey's trademark stories. They're like so fascinating and fun for me.
Oh my gosh, trademarks are yes. Good job, Facebook user. So you're right. Disney owns Hakuna Matata. And if I could pull you through the screen, have you sit next to me and say, what was going on in your head that made you say Disney? You probably went through this type of a thought process, right? Of, oh, Hakuna Matata, that's that Lion King song, which is owned by Disney, right? Y'all, this is a trademark. That thought process is what makes a trademark a trademark. In the trademark world, we attorneys call this source identification. And it's whenever you see something out in the world and it makes you think of a brand in particular. So as long as that thought process is happening where you see something and it makes you think, oh, trademarks, or oh, that brand, then that is a trademark. So now the question is, how do you protect a trademark? But the first question is, do you already have a trademark? I hope you guys are all holding on, because you're about to get your minds blown here. A lot of people, when I ask that, do you have a trademark? They say, no, Joey, dummy. That's why I'm talking to you, because I need a trademark. But this is where it gets so interesting. I like to say that I like this metaphor of a house versus a fence. There are actually 2 layers of trademark rights. And one layer is what I call this house layer. It's automatic upon use. So just by being in business and using your business name and selling stuff, you automatically have trademark rights. That's called an automatic trademark. It's totally free. You don't have to file any paperwork, but you don't really have any strong evidence of your rights when you're just relying on those common law automatic trademarks. It gives you regional protection, which is bigger than a city, much smaller than a state. And it allows you to use that TM symbol. So yes, you can use that TM symbol right now for free without having to file any paperwork, which if you haven't done yet, you should totally start doing. But that's not the same as having a fence around the house. That fence gives you extra protection. And that's what allows you to have what is called a registered trademark, that you pay some money, you file some paperwork to the federal government, and then your trademark becomes registered. So that you have to apply for, but it gives you very strong evidence, and it beefs up your rights from regional trademark rights to a nationwide, like, electric fence around your brand.
So I have a quick question on this without getting us derailed. What if 2 people use the TM on the same thing because they're both thinking, oh, I have the rights to use it for free? Is that confusing, or does that not even matter?
It's totally confusing, and it's all about whoever used it first technically has stronger rights. I like to think about a trademark registration as a birth certificate.
Mm.
You can look at Molly Mahoney right now and know that at one point, like, she was born, right? But until we have hard proof of when her birthday was, we don't really know when that was. And so if you're only relying on those automatic common law rights and using that TM symbol, I mean, it's better than nothing. But if you ever fight with another trademark owner over who gets to use it first, if there's no registration in place, then there's no really strong paperwork that you can rely on to point to say, it's very clear that, I own this, that I've been using it for longer.
Yeah. Awesome. And I know we have some questions about names too, so we'll come back to that later.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So, my friends, this is the head explosion emoji portion of this training. So if you are not yet using that TM symbol, again, I always recommend, when it makes sense, moving forward with the registration to get that strong evidence, but go ahead and slap that little TM on the end of your business name, put it on your website, wherever. Said in a different way, it's not about getting a trademark, it's about claiming a trademark you already have and are using. I have some of my trademark lawyer friends who are very particular in their language, and whenever their clients say, hey, can you help me trademark this? They say, no, I can help you register a trademark. It's almost like can you get me a drink? I don't know, can I? Kind of a thing. I don't do that to Molly or any of my other clients, but like, if I wanted to be that person and like get all pinkied up, like, there is an important technical difference there. So let's take this to poll number 2. Are you currently making use of that TM symbol in your business and branding? And if not, will you start? Give me a TM in the chat if you either have already started using this little TM symbol or if you're going to start using it from now on.
I just love that I was so quickly able to type the TM, because I used to have to Google how to type it, but now I really have been using it more. So I do the thing.
Oh, that's
even
awesome.
When writing Facebook, right? And the C and the R and all those things.
Yeah, and if you're a Mac user or a PC user, there are different keyboard shortcuts you can use to make that happen faster. But you can look that up. Google's your friend. The next thing that we have to think about in terms of, we're still under this first mistake of, do I really need a trademark, is why trademarks? And I want to quickly go over why this should be a priority for you when it comes to the legal side. You don't have strong proof of ownership without a registration. It's very difficult and expensive to defend and enforce your rights without a registration. It's also the case that rebranding becomes increasingly expensive as your business grows. And the average trademark dispute, my team and I did research on this, can easily cost a brand over $200,000. That's a lot of thousands of dollars. And most business owners just don't have that lying around for a trademark dispute to happen. Plus, when you finally go through the process and you get your trademark registered, it's a really cool sign that your brand is legally legit, because you get to use that circle R symbol. It's kind of like the legal version of a verification badge. So on to the next slide here. Look, one of my favorite sayings in the business world is that your success is inevitable. And that also means that problems are inevitable, right? Like, there's another side of that coin. And without trademarks, you're just one cease and desist letter away from losing your entire brand. And it's worth repeating again that a trademark dispute can easily cost well over $200,000 if you really want to play defense there. So,
and just for another horror story, if you missed it years ago, it happened to Rachel Peterson, where SMU used to be Social Media University, not Social Media United. And she had Social Media University written everywhere in her online program. And someone who legally owned the trademark said he was giving her like 2 days before he was going to full on like sue her or whatever, all those things. So she launched a contest in her community to anyone who found Social Media University anywhere. She did like a crazy giveaway and brought the whole community together around it to change everything. And they did it in like 48 hours. I don't know how they did it, but it was a huge headache.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you receive a cease and desist letter, it's almost like getting a flat tire. It never happens like at a good time. Like you're always in a, I mean, owners, we've got other things that we're rushing to do. And so not only does getting a cease and desist letter or a demand letter to change things, that in and of itself is stressful. But when you add on to the fact that you're already busy, you've already got priorities for the day, you're working on something, and then this becomes something that takes up your next 2 to 3 days to 90 days to resolve, it can become a real issue. And if I can share one more horror story, Molly, I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but one of my friends who's now a client, this is probably the saddest story that we've heard so far, is she was just starting her family vacation. She had spent months designing her business so she could finally take 7 days off on some island to really be with her kids, not have any laptop. When she touched down in Hawaii, just out of habit, she flicked back on or off airplane mode, went into her emails, and cease and desist came up in the subject line. And she had to spend the rest of her days in Hawaii, this time that she set aside to not do anything related to the business, freaking out, glued to her laptop, and coming up with some new name for her podcast.
It's crazy. Yeah. And you, like you said, you never know when it's going to happen. And people always think like, oh, it's not going to happen to me, but it can.
And it's saying it's not going to happen to me. Let me put it this way. If your business is growing and thriving, this is a good problem to have.
Yeah. Look at what happened with Jasper, y'all. So they had actually checked with their lawyers, because everybody said, I don't know if it's a good idea to use Jasper or to use Jarvis, because if you don't know what this is, it's my favorite AI copywriting tool. And they were like, oh, but what about Jarvis on, Iron Man? All that is like the robot assistant. And they were like, yeah, we checked with our lawyers. It's totally different. Well, according to Thor, it wasn't, because they said that they got the full
after you can't Disney. Really compete. Yeah.
No, and it was a total headache. And they had already rebranded from Conversion.ai to Jarvis, and then had to change everything to Jasper. Crazy.
Yeah. So
legit.
Yes, this stuff happens, which brings us to mistake number 2. That was a nice little segue. Mistake number 2 is I'll wait to handle trademarks later once my business gets bigger. Give me just the number 2 in the chat. If you've thought this to yourself, or maybe even a business coach or business bestie has said this to you. Like the idea of trademarking came up and they just said, you know what, worry about that later. This isn't something that your business needs to worry about right now. Give me a 2 in the chat if that's somehow familiar to you. This is something that I hear all the time. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 2s come up. So we have a really big problem, and I want you all to take a look at this. I know it's not that fun to look at. This is a chart from the Trademark Office that shows the number of trademark registrations issued every year from 1998 to 2018. And the numbers are pretty small here, but there are around 90,000 trademark registrations in 1998 and almost 300,000 in 2018. That is a huge increase in the number of were registered. And at the same time, it's only telling us half the story. Because again, these are the trademark registrations that were issued that year. But my team and I were curious because we were wondering, okay, how many applications were filed that year? Because as Molly knows, not all of your trademark applications get accepted. And in fact, over half of the applications that get filed get rejected. So we did some digging and we found out that well over 500,000 applications were filed in 2018 alone.
And just to take this one step further, I just Googled actually, because I heard Sandra Yancey say something recently about how many people became entrepreneurs because of all the changes that happened in 2020. So this stops at 2018. I just Googled it, and the Census Bureau revealed that 5.4 million business applications were filed in 2021, a record amount since the business. It was 1 million more than in 2020. because
That's
people are realizing they want
crazy.
to control their own future. They want they want to be able to build a business. So imagine out of those businesses, how many people are also claiming it's like claiming their rights to the intellectual mind share, right?
Right, right,
Interesting.
totally. We we're
And
literally
this,
running out of
exactly.
we're
Yes.
literally running out of trademarks. There are just so many people in the space throwing their own stuff in the air that it's getting harder and harder to make what you're throwing in the air super distinctive and different and not violating anybody else's trademarks. There's a strong chance that right now you're accidentally infringing on another brand. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but we need to confront it face to face. And so before we can talk about protecting your trademark, a lot of people come to me with that first of, Joey, I have my business name. Can you help me trademark it? Before we can talk about protecting your brand, we have to have a serious conversation about availability first. And that's why trademarks are a cost of doing business. It's not something that you should do later. You should figure out as soon as possible, hopefully before you even launch your brand, that your actual brand is distinctive enough to be trademarked. Said in a different way, without securing your own brand with the trademark registration, you're taking a huge risk of infringing on another brand or at least being accused of it. Which brings us to mistake number 3. Joey did a search and I'm fine. No one else has it. Now, you might be thinking, what all do we need to do when we think about, okay, is my business name available? Can I trademark it or not? There are some steps that you are probably thinking about taking. I'm a huge fan of looking before you leap, before you start naming your business name, your course, your podcast. And if you're like most business owners, you probably do go to Google and see, okay, is anyone else using this? Can I get the domain name? Can I grab the social media accounts? Maybe even get an LLC. Those are all great first steps, but we have more work to do if we want to see trademark availability. You also want to search the trademark database. And now if you've gone to that database, this screenshot looks familiar to you. I mentioned in the beginning of the training that I have a free resource for you. That free resource walks you through how to get to this database. For any of you who haven't gotten there before, I walk you through how to do it. I will say the trademark office, it's so amazing that they have a free search database that you can go to. It looks like it's still in the 1990s, but it works and it allows you to run a search and see what comes up.
It's kind of on brand for you, I feel like. Mr. PD.
Very, very minimal, yes. So you type in your business name, see what comes up, and that's great. I'm curious, who here has done a free trademark search at the government website before? It's uspto.gov. Just give me a quick yes or a no. We'll wait for those to come into the chat. And someone asked for the link. Again, at the end of this training, I'll make sure that I give you guys a resource that walks you through not only that link, but how to get there. Because again, the trademark office website, it's great that it's there. It's a little wonky. And you do have to click quite a few links to get to that search page. And unfortunately, if you try and just share that link once you're there, the link breaks. So you have to start at their homepage, click a few buttons, and get there every time. Okay, I'm seeing some no's and some yeses. That resource will be helpful. But even once you have access to that resource and you know that you can run a search, you still have to think about this. I call it the likelihood of confusion trap. What do I mean there? Well, likelihood of confusion, that actually is like a legal term in the trademark world. And we said earlier that most of the trademark applications that get filed get rejected. The biggest reason for the rejection is likelihood of confusion. Likelihood of confusion means, okay, your trademark is technically different than this other trademark, but it's similar enough that we're going to reject it because we don't want it to confuse the customers. I want to be really clear here. Looking into trademark availability is not the same thing as doing a quick domain name check. if you see that someone else has your trademark name, you can't just add an S at the end or do a slightly different spelling or add a the before it, and all of a sudden you have it. That's not how trademarks work. And I want to give you guys some examples of traps where the person who applied for this trademark got stuff denied. So all of these are situations where one brand applied for a trademark and the trademark office said it's too similar, likelihood of confusion flag, to this other brand. And this is difficult for business owners, because if your brand was Renew, spelled RENU, and you searched, nothing would probably come up. Again, that trademark search database, it's free and it's great, but it's super basic and it's not like Google. It won't just say, oh, did you mean this? Let's search for broader terms. And so when you run these searches, you want to make sure that you're understanding that you want to search as broadly as you can. This is one of the places where it really pays to have an experienced trademark attorney run these for you, because they can run a more comprehensive report. Before I move on, I do want to circle this last example of Blue Apron versus Green Apron. Now, Molly, everybody here is probably familiar with Blue Apron, right? Blue Apron is that food subscription box service. It was kind of the first that was in the market. Now there's HelloFresh and all these other ones. But Blue Apron owns the trademark for Blue Apron. They own that registration. So another company applied for Green Apron, and the trademark office said it's too similar. Now, put yourself in your own shoes here. Forget about you being a business owner for a second. As a customer, as a human being who buys food and is aware of Blue Apron, if you got an ad from a company called Green Apron, would a part of you be confused? Maybe thinking, oh, is this
There's
Blue
totally
Apron?
a website called Green Apron that says healthy meals prepared, which makes total sense. That is like it feels like a direct knockoff. Like,
Yeah.
totally.
So, I mean, if I were to see an ad about Green Apron, I could think, oh, is that Blue Apron's like all veggie box? Is this like an upgrade if I just want like very green packaging on how they give it to me? There can be confusion around the source. Or is this some sister site? You know, it can get really confusing. I want to stress that, because it's really helpful for business owners to put yourself in consumer shoes when we think about trademarks, because as frustrating as this can be as a business owner perspective of trying to find a name that's not already trademarked. It's really helpful to be thinking about this from the consumer side and say, you know what? Yes, these are tough hurdles that we have to go through, but it really is the best for society that these rules are in place. And sometimes I might want to punch a trademark examining attorney, but they really are helping us all out by keeping the number of trademark registrations to a minimum. The other reason why I love this last example is the company that tried and failed to get Green Apron was Starbucks. And it's just such a great story that even huge brands like Starbucks can't just pay a lot of money to get anything trademarked.
And there's so many, like, I see a lot of questions about, well, how about this story? How about this story? And this is one of the things that I don't think you do anymore, but Joey used to do these videos where he would dive into like the news of trademarks and the weird things that happen, because there's use cases for all kinds of things, like the new skin versus new face, like all this stuff. There's so many, I think, super fascinating stories about ways that some things have gotten through, which is like with Camera Confidence, you shared that you were surprised that we actually got that trademark because it was like a common word, which is another thing also, right? Or can you talk about that a little bit?
Yep. Common words are another. I mean, I would say this likelihood of confusion is the main reason why a trademark doesn't get accepted, but words being super common are also like reason number 2 or 3 of why a trademark won't get accepted. One of my favorite stories there is Taco Tuesday.
Okay.
So, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm blanking and I'm so sorry. It'll come to me probably as I tell this story. I'm not a huge sports guy, but Molly, you can probably do some Googling and figure this out. There is some huge basketball player who tried to trademark Taco Tuesday, and he didn't get it.
LeBron James tried to trademark
that's who it
it.
was. So LeBron tried to trademark Taco Tuesday, and he, in terms of like him being on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, Taco Tuesday like is part of his personal brand. Like he has it with his
also a
family.
part of a lot of other people's like things that they do. Yeah.
Absolutely. The trademark office, to their credit, denied the application, said that not only can LeBron James not own Taco Tuesday, but no one can own Taco Tuesday. And then LeBron James's attorney did an interview, and he said, you know what? I'm actually really happy about the decision. We didn't think that we were going to get it, but now we know that no one else can trademark Taco Tuesday.
Interesting. I just got goosebumps because that's such a cool way to look at the trademark thing, like as a strategy.
And I want to say this too, just a quick pause on the storytelling, because trademarks quickly get fascinating, super interesting. And it's one of the reasons why I'm drawn to them. At the same time, this goes back to that Mollyism of stay in action. And as interesting as these stories are, as business owners, I don't want to lose sight of, okay, what's the next step that I should be taking with my business to get protection? And by all means, ask these interesting questions. I'm excited to explore different possibilities here. And let's make sure that we make the most of our time together. And, if you were paying me to talk to you about trademarks, that at the end of that call, you really had a sense of the next steps to take in terms of protecting your brand. So don't let the interesting, fascinating stories here distract you from taking action on all of this stuff. So we talked about that likelihood of confusion trap. The last thing here is to take action after you've run the search. I can't tell you how many business owners I've met, that I've talked to, that they've done everything else. They've done even a strong trademark search. Maybe they even paid my team to do a comprehensive search. And then they said, thanks, now that we know that we're not accidentally infringing on anybody else, we're going to wait a while before we file our own trademark. You need to take action. It's very, very possible that someone else can apply after you've done a search. I like to tell my clients that even the strongest trademark search has an immediate expiration date. And unfortunately, we've had that happen where months, sometimes even a week after we run a really strong search, someone else beats our client to the punch and files for a trademark. And it becomes really hard and expensive to try and file ours after they filed theirs to get back to normal there. So I know that was a lot. I want to quickly do a recap of those 3 mistakes. Trademark 1 is I don't need a trademark because I already have a fill in the blank. But the truth is you don't own your brand without trademarks. And that circle R is proof of ownership. Mistake number 2 is I'll wait to handle trademarks later once my business gets bigger. The truth there is that trademarks help ensure that your brand is even available. And mistake number 3 is I did a trademark search and I'm fine. No one else has it. But the truth is the comprehensive searches are tricky to do and they expire immediately. I want to slow down here and just say that this is one of those slides that I really recommend screenshotting. This is a great takeaway slide that you can keep with you as a resource moving forward. So if you're watching this on your computer or maybe on your phone, feel free to take a quick screenshot here and use it as a reference moving forward. And I'm a huge fan of keeping things as simple as I can. So I tried to outdo myself, but that's not on the screen. Number 1, if I can say this more simply, you do need a trademark, right? It's not that I don't need a trademark because I X, Y, Z. Trademarks are your way of proving that you own your brand. Number 2, trademarks help ensure that you're not accidentally infringing on somebody else. And number 3, comprehensive searches are tricky to do. They expire immediately. And for that reason, it should be something that you prioritize in terms of your legal plan, your to-do list. And if you go through that comprehensive search and you see that it is available, it's worth moving forward, getting that application filed quickly so that you don't find out months later that someone else beat you to it. So the big takeaway here is that without trademark registrations in place, you're putting your business at risk of losing its brand recognition or letting your competition steal from you without recourse. So it's critical to call dibs on this stuff as soon as possible. That circle R can be yours, again, which is different than that TM symbol, which means common law automatic, but there's no proof of ownership. Circle R means that you went through the paperwork, you got it registered, and you own it at a national level. Gives you confidence knowing that you own your brand, that you're proactive and not reactive, that you actually understand this process and significance. You're able to call dibs so others can't take it, and you can use everything from domain names to social media accounts to an LLC name without fear of having to change it all down the road. So our slogan at Indie Law is that we put the rad in trademarks. I coined this slogan when I was working pretty closely with Molly. And so I know that if you put rad in Facebook, something fun happens. So go ahead and put rad in the chat and let's see if Facebook does its typical magic with that word. And the rad, it's not just a fun thing that looks cool on Facebook. It's short for ready, aim, done. So in the ready stage, we review your trademark and compare it to others for red flags. In the aim stage, we strategically prepare the application for successful registration. And in the done phase, we submit the application and we do all that heavy lifting for you. Again, we do all that heavy lifting as you relax. We take care of you throughout the process, and it's all flat fees, so you don't have to worry about hourly rates. Again, if anybody wants to book a free brand protection call, Molly has the link, the resource for that, and I'll also give you those action taker bonus, those deeper dive resources. So the two resources that you guys are going to get, number one is how to find that trademark search website, how to get there from the trademark office's website, how to run that search. And then the second thing that I'm going to give all of you is a trademark priority list. A lot of clients come to me saying, hey, I know that I need a trademark, but what do I trademark first? So we've got a list in order of what we typically recommend that business owners do first when it comes to filing for trademarks.
Which is so good because it can feel so overwhelming, like having so many of those, like there's so many options. I know I saw that Marie Elizabeth was asking that she had one thing trademarked, but then should she also trademark the name of each of her programs? Like the list can go on, and I kind of become, it's almost like with websites. I sometimes feel like I've gotten a little trademark happy because I'm like, oh, I should trademark this, and then I should trademark this, and then I should trademark this, because I'm just like, I like owning things apparently. I don't know, but
you should.
Yeah.
This is also like the FAQ section. Molly, I don't know how you were able to do a good job like tracking people's questions as they were flowing. People had some amazing questions.
Yeah, we had some awesome questions coming in. And I just want to make sure time-wise, are you good? I know we're over the hour, but I'm good to go. I always
thank you for asking. I'm good.
Okay. Amazing. So if you guys want to jump into questions, this has been so awesome. And Joey, thank you so much. And I agree that this is something that I get excited about, because it's like fun to talk about too, but it is important that we pay attention to what we actually need to spend our time on with this. And that the recognizing what things in your business you actually would want to trademark or maybe a good idea is so, so valuable. So if you give us the words, if you're on my Facebook business page, just drop the words, all one word, remind me. If your autocorrect makes it go remind space me, I fixed it, so it'll work for that too. But if you drop remind me in the chat, that will get you access via Messenger. If you're on another platform somewhere else, on my personal profile, on Joey's accounts, or on YouTube, just go to molly.live/remind me. It will take you to our Messenger bot. And right there, it'll say, if you want to book a call, click book a call, and then you'll get all that information, which is awesome. And if you have questions, Joey is amazing and going to stay on and do questions with us. So I saw one question earlier about trademarking your actual name. So I have a little funny story about this because my name, Molly Mahoney, which sounds very much like, I always say it's like all American Irish cheese is my birth name. But what happened is the movie Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium came out, and Natalie Portman's character in that movie, if you haven't seen it, is Molly Mahoney. And the thing that's really funny about it is that that character is kind of a lot like me. She's like really quirky and magical and like plays piano and does all this stuff. So when you Google Molly Mahoney, that's something that comes up pretty frequently also, is this Natalie Portman movie. Also, there's another Molly Mahoney who is a singer, and we have run into problems because luckily I had mollymahoney.com, but we've run into problems because like at one point I had an email address that was Molly M. Mahoney. And she got all the RSVPs for my sister's bridal shower because people missed the middle M, and she's actually Molly M. Mahoney as well. So we've had all this weird confusion. Is there anything that I can do about that? Or can you not trademark your own name?
There absolutely is, and you definitely can. I mean, you can trademark anything if it's a source identifier for your brand. And so there are certain industries where it tends to make more sense, where it's more common for businesses to trademark a name, like in the singer space, in the photography space, even in the law firm space, where people's names are their brand. That tends to make sense. There are also, I'll get a little ninja on everybody with a more advanced trademark thing, but it's possible to apply for what's called an intent to use trademark application. It's a more sophisticated process of saying this brand isn't launched yet, but we plan on launching it. And so you can apply for that before you launch, and then it kind of queues up the paperwork. The trademark office will eventually need you to show proof of ownership. I say that because there are now an increasing number of celebrities who are going that intent to use route to trademark their children's names. So Blue Ivy is not currently a label anywhere, but there are all of these intent to use trademarks for Blue Ivy, so that when she gets a little bit older, if she wants to be an entrepreneur in like the clothing space or whatever, like all of that paperwork is already queued up for her.
That just made my jaw hit the floor. So
isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So are people not allowed to then name someone Blue Ivy, or is it just you're not allowed to use it for whatever? Because this is the other thing that a lot of people I think don't realize is that when you file a trademark, it's connected to like a use case for it. So like when we filed the kindness, which you probably don't know this, but we have a trademark on Kindness Kids, and you know this, Joey, but the Kindness Kids trademark was in the clothing space. So eventually we plan on launching this clothing line, which and we had, in order to do that, I had to prove that we actually had shirts with the tag on it and that we've sold. So I have a Shopify store that you all probably don't even know exists. And the plan is that like we've sold them to a few people to get that proof, but I could have done that to say that it was going to be used in the future, whatever. But it had to be in the specific genre, like what do they call it? A category, a genre?
Yes. So, and this also gets confusing because the trademark office has taken everything that you can imagine selling and compartmentalize them into 45 different classes. So that's the classes. Word. And so when you file for a trademark, when you fill out that application, you have to let the trademark office know which class or classes you are filing under. That being said, again, this likelihood of confusion test is more of an art than a science. And so as the world is getting more like interrelated, we had a client who filed in the apparel. They were like a very like fitness apparel company, and they applied for a trademark. They didn't get it because they said this other brand had a name that was too close. This other brand was like a gym, which is totally different from a clothing space. But they said that buyer could still get confused because they're both in kind of this fitness, which isn't a class. So again, just don't get confused and think, oh, as long as I file in a different class than this other brand, I'm okay. But to your broader point, yes. There are so many brands that are the exact same, but they do totally different things, so there's no confusion. Like there's Delta Airlines and Delta Faucets.
Oh my gosh, my desk is a Jarvis desk, which I was like, why
Oh, nice.
Jarvis, why is this desk okay? But then like the fact that Jarvis is a copywriting tool, I think is why they thought they were okay. But
Right.
because we're all referring to Jarvis as Jasper as like a little robot, and that
Yeah.
robot, I think that's where it made it potentially confusing. That's so
Well,
crazy.
and the weird part about this too, is it's just so fascinating. Where if Disney and Jasper had equal funds and actually fought this out, I honestly think that Disney has a pretty weak argument there.
Mm,
They just have, I mean, but they're so well known. It's such a
totally.
mega space that they can afford to. I don't want to say bully because they're defending their
Threaten
rights, as they
someone at
should.
least.
But threaten someone even on shaky ground and still be successful.
Yeah. So interesting. And so I'm going to try and pull up a couple of these questions. So Marcy says, is it easier to trademark with a symbol? And this reminds me of what happened with Prince, because wasn't there something where like his music was owned underneath a certain label where he couldn't use his name, and that's why he changed his name to a symbol? Is that true? Or
Oh,
did I make that up?
that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that one.
I'm going
I
to
will
Google
say though too, there is this spectrum that I really encourage my clients to think about. In the trademark world, there's this spectrum. If I had a slide, I would point to it, but I call it the spectrum of distinctiveness. And on the one end of this spectrum are like totally made up words, like Kodak.
it. Okay. Yeah.
A company like Kodak is a really strong trademark because it means nothing if not for the work that that brand did to make it mean something.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have super generic words like taco, like the Taco Tuesday restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if I
Or
started a
camera
taco
confidence.
company and I called it the taco restaurant, I there's no way the trademark office would let me get that because there should not be a monopoly on the English language. No business owner should say that I own a right to these very generic words. In the middle, though, there are some what I call suggestive trademarks. And these are words that they're not super generic. They don't even really describe what your business does. But once your customer knows what your business does, then the brand makes sense.
Hmm.
And one of my favorite examples to give of a suggestive trademark is the car company Jaguar.
Okay. Oh,
Just
because it's
because
a common word?
just once I tell you that it's Jaguar and it's a car company, you can already kind of tell this is high end, it's going to be fast,
Yeah,
it's
it's made fast.
luxurious. Yeah,
Totally.
and so the word is on brand even though it's not descriptive.
That's cool.
And uh, in the online kind of course creator thought leader space, there's this rush towards like how can I come up with the sexiest phrase that already kind of is what people want, and
Yeah.
that's not a bad strategy, especially in this space. But as brands get bigger, as you as you kind of elevate things that you can trademark from a course name or a podcast to the name of your business, I think it's worth considering names that are more creative, more suggestive, because there's way more opportunities there. And
Yeah.
over time, that allows you to have much stronger trademark rights. Because again, Molly, I am not telling you that you should have renamed your company Jaguar. But if you did and you started seeing other live streamers or coaches with the name Jaguar, then you would have a much stronger red flag to say, hey, did you really just
Totally.
randomly come up with
Which
Jaguar like I did?
I think a lot of people who came up with camera confidence didn't do it like
Right.
directed at us, which even with StreamYard, when the StreamYard thing first happened, I was like, are you actually kidding me? Because I was the face of the brand for their biggest competitor. So I was like, for real, for real. But I mean, I'm friends with a lot of the people on the team there. And she was like, I had no idea, right? Like it's alliteration. It's exactly what you're teaching people to do is to be more confident on camera. I also thought it was great, like SEO wise. So I'm still super stoked that I own it. And truth be told, we're planning on launching like just a little mini course on it. Like taking the first module of our full program and making that camera confidence, which is more in line with what that would actually be teaching, because the other problem is that camera confidence wasn't just teaching you how to be confident on camera. It was teaching you all of this stuff about your business. So it became this like very confusing internal thing also. This is so awesome, and I love it so much. Okay, I'm going to go 2 more questions at least.
Can I actually go to a question real quick, Molly?
Yes.
Just because someone asked and I want to speak to it. Cassandra says, but that's crazy that they could trademark an animal name.
Oh.
I really appreciate that question, and I want to circle to it just because I want to make sure that no one gets confused here. Companies have trademarked animal names. Companies have trademarked fruit. Like Apple owns Apple.
Oh, Apple, duh, hello.
And I want to just be clear that when a company trademarks a word, it doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means if you're a tech company, you can't use Apple.
So like the entrepreneur thing, I know was like a big thing. So how did that like?
That's different. So entrepreneur, like if entrepreneur called themselves like banana, we wouldn't have this conversation. But what entrepreneur did, which is very annoying and frustrating, and I wish that there was a way for business owners to go after entrepreneur here, is Entrepreneur Magazine years ago decided to name their magazine Entrepreneur Magazine. Like it's in the title of their magazine who that it's for. And understandably, once they made that choice, they got a trademark for Entrepreneur Magazine. And now Entrepreneur Magazine doesn't just do magazines, they also do podcasts and everything else.
So do you think they got other, because this is another question too, like do you think they got other trademarks for other classes while it expanded?
Probably. I don't, but the class that a magazine is under is also under podcasts.
Because it's like it's like public media or something. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. And so what happened was over the past few years, if you were to file a trademark for your podcast and your podcast had the word entrepreneur in it, Entrepreneur Magazine's lawyers would have that automatically flagged, and it would queue up a cease and desist letter to go out to all of these podcast owners. And it was totally
casting entrepreneur or things like that.
Yeah, totally not really likelihood of confusion. Very generic name, anyways. Part of me wishes that one of them could have taken Entrepreneur Magazine to court here, because I doubt they would have come to the side that Entrepreneur Magazine would have wanted. And again, these stories get fascinating so quickly. I also just want to say that if you are at a place, whether this conversation is maybe making you think like, oh, I've never really thought about getting more creative with my business name. If you're thinking about a new name for your business, or if you go through this process and you realize that the name that you've been using is too close to someone else's trademark, I have an amazing naming company that I partner with. And all he does is naming strategy.
That's so cool.
I'm happy to make that intro with whoever might want it.
I love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh. Remember, if you want to book a call, just go to molly.live/remind me. It will send you to MollyBot, our little messenger bot, who will say, hey, how you doing? Click the button that says call, and then you'll get the information. I love it. Okay. What about in different places? Like if someone wants to book a call and they're in Canada, is that something you can help them with?
Great question, man. Yeah. And this is where it gets so interesting, because if you are in Canada,
this is where it gets so interesting. Hold on.
I know. It's just
so interesting. Every layer of it. It's so cool.
If you're in Canada or anywhere outside of the US and you have customers in the US, you can work with the trademark attorney in the US and get a registration in the US. It doesn't really matter where your business is based. It matters more, where do you want to, where are you present to a customer base? If you're exclusive to a Canadian audience, then prioritize a Canadian registration. We do have quite a few overseas clients who they have clients all over the world, but because the United States is known for being more lawsuit happy, they prioritize getting it registered here first.
Interesting. And that is so fascinating. So you would need to get it in the different places though.
Yes. And
if you were going, if that was your route, if you wanted to be, if you have a large or whatever customer presence in those different places, you would need to have it in different places.
Yes. And just to be clear, my language, if you are in the US, You do have the option of filing for a trademark on your own, even though I always recommend working with an expert. If
Oh
you
yeah.
are not in the United States, you no longer have the option to file on your own. You have to pay for a U.S. attorney to file it on your behalf.
Interesting. And I didn't say at the beginning, Joy is not your lawyer, by the way. He's my
Yeah,
trademark lawyer, but if you're not actually working with him, he's not your lawyer.
we can be.
But he can be if you book the call. Okay. And you will be so lucky and happy. And I promise it's just been so, so, so awesome. So this is another question that came in from Daniela, which is if she knows someone who has the trademark here to serve, wouldn't that be common? Which I think some of these things are common and they get through.
Well,
But
part of it again is it common? Yes. Is it common as a brand identifier? Maybe not. Like maybe if you were using that as a slogan, I could see how, I don't know if other brands use that as a slogan very often.
yeah,
But even if that was the name of your business, I don't know how many
totally.
other,
I don't know any other. Yeah.
yes. And so it's not about are other people using it. It's, is this a generic brand name?
Right. Cool. And it like gets so deep on that. Anna says that she lives a half hour from Rochester, the city that Kodak made, which reminds me that my grandpa worked for Kodak and he was like really kind of high up in Kodak. And I always feel like he would be freaking out if he knew what has happened to that brand. With he died before all this stuff changed in the world of the digital everything. But
well, and sorry to interrupt you, Molly, but I do want to go back to, again, I want to make sure that I'm being as clear as I can on this stuff because it's so complex. But back to LeBron James and Taco Tuesday.
Yes.
And I want to reiterate, he was told you can't trademark Taco Tuesday and no one else can. But I bet you that if I wanted to rename my law firm Taco Tuesday Law, I could probably get it because in that context, like it doesn't mean what you think it means.
Yeah.
So even if a word is common, if you use it in a space where that's not really how it's defined, then you're recreating what that means and it's no longer generic.
So true. Interesting. Okay, let's see. This is our last question. Daniela says, please explain source identifier for your brand. I know that's something that we talked about earlier. Can you just tap into that again, like what that term means?
Yeah, so a source identifier is something that when you observe it, it makes you think of a brand in particular. So when you're driving on a highway and you see two golden yellow arches, you know it's McDonald's. Or you hear people say, I'm loving it, you know it's McDonald's, or just do it and you know it's Nike.
Which that's examples of things like here to serve that, people could have said whatever, but they have become very, very, very clearly aligned with that actual thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
And again, the trademark world is catching up to the fact that there are more and more business owners. But like glam, for example, has gotten so big now that I'm sure if a general kind of business owner audience heard about glam, there would be a group of people who are like, wait, are we talking about like
so we have a trademark on glam, but we have a trademark on glam, go live and monetize the whole thing, not just the word glam, which that also has become confusing because just the word glam on its own, like you said, can be used in so many different contexts or contexts, whatever that is. Right. So this is where it really does become that like rabbit hole thing. And it causes you to look at like your naming. I mean, I'm so grateful. My friend Jerry came up with the idea for the prepared performer, which we started off with that brand name because we were helping performers, but now we help business owners prepare to perform and whatever they're doing. But it's like there's so many layers of this. And Sean, which I'm so glad, Sean, that you're here. It's so fun to have you here today. Sean was saying earlier that he's writing a musical. Do we need to trademark each song? It's the same thing that other people are asking. Like if we trademark the company, do we need to trademark all the things inside of it? And really, Hakuna Matata is a great idea. Like, what about Bruno? We don't,
yeah. And
did they know that song was going to be the thing that took off? Do they have that trademarked? Like,
I mean, and probably not. And that's why I'm a huge fan of let's do this by priority. Because one thing that we haven't, again, in a lot of ways, guys, we're over an hour in and we're just scratching the surface of all of this. We haven't even talked about like the timeline of when you file a trademark, how long does it take?
I don't know why, but I'm not sure everybody else can't hear you because before it seemed like everybody else.
Oh no.
but I didn't change anything. Can you guys hear
Let
Joey?
me, let me, let's,
But it's showing that your sound is coming through. Now it's working again.
okay. Yeah, I don't think that Molly's camera or computer likes me.
Okay, everybody else was fine. Everybody else was fine. That's why I let you just keep going.
No, I was just saying that we haven't even talked about like the timeline of when you apply for a trademark. How long does it take to actually get the registration? And it now with COVID, it's making things way slower than faster with the trademark office. And it used to take around 6 months. Now it's taking almost a year when you file to get your registration. So what we're doing with a lot of our clients is let's secure your first trademark, wait the year or so for it to get secured, and then we can talk about additional trademarks. Because again, we do our best, and we even have like guarantees or promises about what we'll do if the trademark isn't successful. But think about it as a business owner. If Molly applied for prepared performer and didn't get it, there might be other parts of her brand that if she couldn't get brand prepared performer, maybe she doesn't want these kind of other versions of that or sayings that were kind of tied to that idea. So
I could go
as
to
much as
all
I would,
animal themes, or maybe
right.
everything would be about pineapples, like all of it.
Right. As much as I love the idea of a business owner saying, I want to, apply for all of my brands right away and just get them, I do like slowing down, saying, okay, what's like that core brand identifier in your business that if you couldn't have that, it might have a domino effect and affect the other naming things that you're doing. And let's first. Another thing that you can do is figure out what is a visual anchor to the brand, that if I lose these words, I might be able to find some other words. And like I noticed that Molly, like there is or was kind of stars and kind of incorporated into her brand. Yeah. And with mine, we're starting to introduce kind of like a lightning bolt logo into things. And when you come up with a visual image that goes with your brand, then that also can allow with you to explore words in that world. Okay, what are words kind of in that universe of stars or lightning bolt or whatever, that you can then lean on if you need to think about alternatives for trademarks.
And that's what, like, we did the vote in our community of what the community was going to be named, which the community voted to be called the Mall Stars. So we had that. We also, Marcy was asking about a hashtag. So we have the hashtag Stand for Joy trademarked, but then some people were like, oh no, should I not be using it? But no, we want everyone to use it. But the thing, like what Joey said earlier, it just means that no one else can use Stand for Joy as their whatever class I think we have it classified in a nonprofit, actually, because that's what we intend to use that for eventually, is that it will be the Stand for Joy like movement, basically, which we just got asked to participate in something with NFTs using Stand for Joy. And I was like super stoked because
that's
I already
amazing.
I know. So, but that's like really forward thinking, right? If you know what your values are and you find something like that, it's interesting.
That's so amazing. And just another example to that, because that's such a good way to think about this, is one of my dear friends, Natalie Frank, has trademarked the phrase community over competition, which to her credit, she coined years ago and created a movement around. And like you, she ultimately decided to get the registration on it, not because she wanted to be exclusive about it, but because she wanted to make sure that no one else was going to use it and then force her to stop.
Totally, which is awesome. Oh my gosh, so many awesome things. And to Sean's question, I didn't trademark the logo. It's just that's what we have those stars as a part of it. Like with the star thing, you weren't saying necessarily to trademark the stars. It's just like, for example, I may be wearing a giant sparkly ring, which Cassandra mentioned earlier, which
could nice.
Like, I don't know if you can see it, hint at sparkles and stars.
I love
and like
that.
My sparkly pants, and we've got disco balls and palm trees and all that. So it all kind of it has the like stage presence type thing with it.
Yeah, and I love your audience, Molly. I mean, this isn't my first time talking to your group, and I love how we can go next level with this stuff. And whenever you want me to wrap up, I'm free literally all day. But But yes, you're right. We were talking about not really trademarking the logo, but thinking about it as you're picking words to trademark. But
Mhm.
you can trademark a logo.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we can do is if we do a comprehensive search of your name and we get like green lights, it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it. Our goal usually is, okay, how can we move forward and prepare your application so that it's written as broadly as possible to give you the
Mm.
broadest possible protections. But if we find some orange or yellow flags, which usually we do, what we say, okay, instead of creating a really broad application, how can we get kind of narrow? How can we distinguish your brand from these other brands that we're seeing in the marketplace? And sometimes what we do there is say, okay, we think that you're more likely to be successful here if we incorporate the logo into the actual
Mm.
business name and logo of what we're applying for, so that when the trademark office sees it, there's more happening there and it's more distinctive than this other thing that is available and visible.
Yeah. And that's really what you helped us to do with the Kindness Kids thing, because there was some other things using Kindness Kids that were in totally different spaces. So that's why we went all in. I just knew at some point I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to like have a platform where the boys could be involved, and I kind of like Blue Ivy, but like they could be involved
Right.
in this like movement forward with it.
Yeah.
And so we have drawing like Charlie used to sell these monster drawings. So we're planning on, in addition to the words on the shirts and stuff, we already have shirts that have their monster drawings on them and like kindness monsters and that kind of stuff. So, in my spare time
Yeah. With the time that you have back on your cruises.
in my on my pretend cruise, we're launching a pretend cruise for the Kindness Kids. It's going to be awesome.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Basically the point of this entire video is go book a call with Joey, because he is awesome and I'm so grateful, and there's just so many potentials, and honestly, it's like for what it ends up doing for your business and just your own ownership and like the decision making factor of the direction that you're going, it is so ridiculously affordable to put this in place. So go talk to him. The call is free. I mean, that's ridiculously affordable. And then also, just I will say, like, we've done so many of these and Joey just makes it so easy. I just got a letter. I haven't emailed it to your team yet, but I just got an email a couple of days ago from someone that we did a trademark with a long time ago. And I swear I had to send the email to Liz and be like, can you explain to me what the F
Mm.
they're actually talking about? Because they don't even include, and she's an awesome human and was very helpful for me in the beginning. But now the way that her firm is set up, they don't even include like a, hi, how you doing? It just says, please see the attached message from this
Mm-hmm.
lawyer. And then it's like a PDF of a legal document that's like, this was for Elevate, you're awesome. It's like, if you want to continue using this, send a specimen. It's like they want a P sample. Like, what? Use
Right.
actual English.
Yeah. And it's I want to use my words carefully here, because what I'm
And
about to
she's
say I
lovely
do
as a
really
human. So this is not about
yes, and I really mean this. To all of you who are service providers, that it is a challenge for us to fulfill our promises 100% of the time. And for any lawyers who might be watching, there is a lot of stress that we carry for our clients. So I will never fault other attorneys when I hear stories about things falling through the cracks or processes not being super well oiled. At the same time, I'm always trying to make the process better and better on what my team can deliver. And I think partly because all we do is trademarks, it allows us to focus on providing a client experience that most firms can't, just because they're trying to serve their clients in other ways.
It's really exciting what they do after you get your trademark too. I'm not going to tell
Mm.
you because it's really cute, but it's awesome. Amazing. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, and let's pick a nugget. Okay, so I'm going to scroll and then just tell me when to stop.
Wow.
It is Anna, which is
Nice.
Journalism Nugget. Stay in
I
action.
love
Yes.
that.
So awesome. Anna, so good. So send me
Mm.
an email at Molly at the Prepared Performer trademarks.com with your address and your shirt size. It's like unisex shirt sizes. So, and then we'll get you a shirt in the mail,
Love
which
that.
is so fun.
Oh,
So
that's
fun.
awesome.
Okay. I love it so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I am so appreciative of you. My husband wears our indie law clothes all the time. He is
Oh,
obsessed
I
with
love
all of
that.
the swag. And I love you so much. It's so,
Oh,
so
I love you
good.
too. I love you too. You guys are so thankful to have Molly in your audience. I'm so appreciative of everything that she does. Molly, I just want to ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Is there a place that you love for your people to just love on you in terms of like, I know you've got your podcast. Is there a way that people can leave a review?
Yeah,
for
you know
Prepared
what?
Performer?
That's something we haven't asked about in a long time, but we have in the past. That's such a great question. Thank you. We actually have over 200 reviews on our Facebook page that I am so grateful for. So if you would like to leave us a review on our Facebook page, I would so appreciate that. It's just on our Facebook business page, which is The Prepared Performer, and I can put it up here with my little star. Maybe where's my logo? Boop, above Joey's head on
Awesome.
Joey's hotel room fridge. There, yeah, you did it. So if you want to leave a review, we would so appreciate that. Thanks, Joey. And I'm just so grateful for you as a friend, for our like weird, funny way that we connected.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, I took away the ability for you guys to just call and leave a voicemail. So the least I can do is say, you know what, go leave her a review.
And just, seeing how your business has become what it has, I'm so grateful. And if any of you are interested in more support, I know Joey's worked with several different people, but it was so fun to be able to support him in our glam program too. And
oh my
I don't
gosh,
know if
100%. If you guys are thinking about glam, if you want to learn more, I'm happy to chat. I highly, highly recommend it. Such a game changer for my team and my firm.
Thank you. If is there like one nugget of what like one of your favorite takeaways from the program was? Aside from your video, like completely blowing up with so much engagement that you couldn't even focus.
I would say that there's, don't let Molly's exterior fool you. Because when you get inside glam, you see that there is this really magical blend of all of this and like the numbers side of what Molly is willing to dive into with you is so next level. And I've been fortunate enough to be in a few communities where people are vulnerable and are sharing numbers. But I will say that what I love about Molly's community is there's a real commitment to showing up, to doing the work, to being clear about where you are in your numbers. But there's no sense of judgment or comparison or feeling like you're less than. Like your win is your win, and you get to see that as you progress because your numbers get improvement month to month. And it's a really special thing when you combine like Molly's heart and brain with the community that she's put together.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
You're the best. I was just saying yesterday that I have a couple of like the story that I tell about when someone stole my phone in Barcelona. I don't know if you know that story, but someone stole my phone and I chased the mofo down and karate chopped it out of his hand. And I was on a glam call yesterday. We were talking about copywriting and storytelling. And I said, because I think a lot of people, like what you just said I'm so grateful because I think a lot of people see the big earrings or they see the sparkles or they hear us like goofing around and they don't realize that like, no, I'm like for real. Like the legit, not legit, like you're legit. That's a whole different thing. But the hardcore business and like numbers and data and that kind of stuff that we talk about, which I attribute to the fact that I'm also able to karate chop people who steal my phones.
Yes. Yeah, you don't mess with Molly Mahoney.
But and which part of that is because of thanks to you, because if people use my trademarks, I'm like, yo, I've got Joey Vitale. Same kind of thing though. Like you're so kind and fun and can be goofy, but also there's a real sense of like, no, right, like what's right and what's not right.
There is a way to be strong and powerful without sacrificing the fun, silly, goofy side of what your brand is about.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so grateful. Oh my gosh. Okay, this has been the best. I have to go edit a video that I was working on this morning, and I'm gonna get fired by my team if I don't go finish it. Otherwise,
we don't want that to happen.
Okay, thank you so much. We have so many thank yous in the chat. Make sure you go leave reviews on, where can people leave reviews for you with our
Oh
love
my God,
fest?
I would love that. We're trying to get to 150 Google reviews right now. So if you
Ooh,
found
cool.
this helpful, it would mean the world if you hopped over to Google. You could also just go to indielaw.com/review. It'll take you right there.
So
Um,
good.
and that
I
would be
love it.
so helpful. Thank you.
Indie.com/review. I'm gonna hit, if I haven't done that yet. Oh,
Indielaw.com/review.
sorry. Indie.com. That would be, you're like, we're
If I
racing
could get
cars.
that, that would be awesome.
Indie, I know. Indielaw.com/review. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh. As always, this has just been so much fun. Thank you for joining us. It is my absolute joy to be able to be here with you. If you haven't noticed, we've actually not been live every single week because now at this point, I've been doing weekly live videos for maybe 5 years. And so I
Mm,
have recognized that I can lean into, hello, a little bit of balance also.
mm,
So we're pretty much going live every other Wednesday. So next week, I
nice.
will not be here on Wednesday, but the following week, I will be. Make sure that you talk to Molly Bot. She'll get you signed up for reminders. Go leave a review for Joey. Go sign up for a call. Oh my gosh, this was so awesome. And we have loads of trainings on our YouTube. So if you go to our YouTube, The Prepared Performer, if you're like, why isn't Molly live? You can go watch replays from the past 5 years. So
Yes. Yes. Go ahead and do that.
amazing. So go do that. But if you're just getting
Uh,
started, put content out every week.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm putting Instagram videos out like every day. So go follow us there too. Okay. Mwah.
Awesome.
I love you so much. Thanks so much for being here. It is our joy to help you to unlock your inner awesome and elevate it with the magic of video and organic social so that people can throw